Hello and welcome back to the Gfinity Masters. Joining me on the cast today will be Raven. I'm Aquablad, and we're about to go into our next game, which is Firebat versus Faramir. So what can you tell us about Firebat?
Yeah, well, anyone who follows Hearthstone just must know who Firebat is. He's the current world champion. He demolished BlizzCon. He's pretty much known for the amount of preparation he puts into any tournament he plays. Other recent wins, he's played came second and third in a couple of Kingdom tournaments, and he finished first place in the Pinnacle one. So, yeah, I mean, he's just really strong. We saw him play a bit earlier with that Face Hunter deck, including the Snake Trap, which was pretty interesting. But yeah, it should be good.
And our other player is Faramir, who's just recently signed with Trig Esports, who are just kind of going into Hearthstone. He's with his teammate Powder, who's also at this event, and D2. So Faramir is probably one of the strongest EU players around now. He's getting some good results. He won Heroes of the Cards, he won Tavern Takeover. So, you know, he's a really strong player, and we're going to see a really good match from these guys.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see how they start now, because something to be quite aware of is these players have maybe picked up on what decks they're playing now, that everyone's pretty much had at least one game. So yeah, we'll see how they sort of decide to go into that. I mean, I'm really interested to see if he starts, if Firebat starts with this Face Hunter, just to try and rush down, get that win out of the way, and then move on to the Rogue or the Freeze Mage. So.
It's also important to know that we've actually seen Faramir play, so we know what decks he's running, and one thing that will play a big role in this match is probably Warrior, because we know that Firebat's running Freeze Mage. Warrior is a big problem for that deck, and also Face Hunter. Warrior is also a big problem for Face Hunter, so it's going to be an interesting game, and actually I think they're starting it right now.
And yeah, like you said about the Warrior, I mean, it's almost an auto win, Warrior versus Freeze Mage. I don't think I've ever really seen it lose. I mean, I suppose there's always the chance, but it's pretty favoured.
Alright, so we've got Fast Druid versus the Oil Rogue. And looking at the hands, we see the Wild Growth. That's a really good card to start with. And we've got some late game stuff, so I'm expecting Faramir's hoping to draw something like an Innovate, you know, start getting these minions on the board.
Yeah, definitely. And from the Rogue, I was just going to say we're going to see the Fan of Knives just get thrown away. It's not good. Doesn't really do too much versus Druid early on anyway, and but pretty okay with the Shredder, the Farseer.
And there's that Innovate and a coin. So Faramir is in a really good position here. He can Wild Growth next turn, and then he can potentially get out something big like, say, a Druidiclaw or Sylvanas. But he might even save it for the card draw.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the worries as well is we can see that the Rogue's got this sap in hand as well. So if he does choose to just bring out something quite big, like maybe the Druid of the Claw or Sylvanas early on, it's just going to get thrown back, which is going to be pretty miserable.
So Firebat just takes the heal here. Alright, so the Farseer goes down, he does get the heal, but he just wants the board presence here. And we're going to see this Innovate, and we're going to see this coin now. So playing the Ancient of Law is really good for him, because obviously the sap is there. But sapping an Ancient of Law, do you really want to do that?
Yeah, I mean, although it's going to sort of get control back in the Rogue's favour in terms of having the board control, but yeah, like you said, sapping it back, I mean, it's just going to draw more cards later on, and he still has another Innovate there, so it's going to be, he could just do it again next turn. You know, it's a real worry.
Well, fortunately for Firebat here, he's got quite a good curve. He's got a lot of options here. He can just play on curve if he wants, but I'm assuming he's just going to remove this Ancient of Law. And he could do that, say, with the SI and the Backstab and the Dagger, and he can just gain board. And with Oil Rogue, they want to maintain board presence as much as they can, so they can set up that oil and start dealing a lot of damage.
Yeah, I mean, there's even potential for the Violet Teacher to come out, and then just the Backstab there to just start to build up the board. And it's looking okay. I mean, he's got some okay follow-ups with the Shredder, but I think what's quite key now is anything that the Druid brings out, sap's just already there, ready, waiting to go.
So the BGH, it may play a role in this, depending on how Firebat uses his Edwin, but we're just going to see the Druid of the Claw here, and we wonder if the sap will come out here.
Yeah, I mean, what other options has he really got? I mean, yeah, okay, he's just gonna. It looks like he's just gonna go for it. I don't think there's anything that would have worked too well without throwing away quite a lot of his resource.
Yeah, he's just kind of playing for tempo here. I guess you would maybe want to use the sap when you can set up a Dagger to hit and maybe get a Blade Flurry the next turn. But I think he's in a position here where he just wants to keep building his board, and that would be that's going to be a good Van Cleef. It's going to probably get taken care of with Swipe, but the Violet Teacher still lives, so that's
yeah,
good.
Definitely. And there's not much follow-up after that Swipe, really. So he's just choosing to drop the Sylvanas, and that's fine. Like we said, if we did swipe, it would clear the Van Cleef and the 1/1s, but the teacher's just sat there quite happy.
So Firebat's just drawn a lot of minions here. I guess he's kind of hoping for some... You'd want some spells by now, and using this fan... Well, he can clear this quite efficiently because he's going to have a lot of 1-drops, and this Sylvanas won't get any value if it takes a 1-drop. But I'm thinking that Firebat's probably going to hope he starts throwing some spells, you know, some damage.
Yeah, definitely, and if he does clear this, I mean, if the Sylvanas steals the Violet Teacher, though, that could be a bit of a problem, I think. I mean, it could cause some major issues, because we can see that the Druid actually does have a couple of spells in hand, I think. Oh, okay, so it's actually just the Innovate and the Swipe, I think. So yeah, maybe not too bad, actually.
So Firebat's thinking about this next play. I think he will clear Sylvanas because he has the tokens. It's just a better target to get rid of it, and he's used the sap already. Oh, does he...
Okay.
Oh no, he's just going face. So he's just playing a more aggressive play here.
And yeah, that's fine. I mean, he's got the Drake to draw, and he's got, you know, a bit more damage from the SI in hand, but I think he's just sort of taking the opinion of the Sylvanas can't easily sort of kill itself to try and steal something bigger anyway. So he's just going to just completely go for pressure there.
So he deals with the Teacher straight away, which is fine. And so he cleans up most of the board with this. And we're going to see that Druid of the Claw come back into play and taunt. So I would say Faramir's in a good position now, because obviously the sap's been used. He still has that Sylvanas, so he still has the potential to steal something that is dropped by Firebat. But we see the sprint.
Yeah, do you want to sprint here?
I'm not sure.
It's a tough one. I think the problem is if you sprint, there's you know, unless some preps come out, there's not a lot you can really do with it. Whereas, you know, the other side of the board's really not looking great. And there's not too much threat in the Druid's hand there with the Shredder, Double Shades and BGH, which, like you said, because we saw the Van Cleef come out earlier, not big enough for it to have an impact. That's pretty much a dead card at the moment.
Oh, okay, so he gets the reduced cost on the spells here. I guess he kind of wants to kill that Sylvanas now, where it doesn't take anything too important, like an Azure Drake, for example. So,
yeah, I mean, it's a real tough one, actually. I mean, Sprint could really set up a great next turn, but are you going to lose too much of the control with it? That's my only worry.
I mean, if he does play, he could play the Drake, and then he could play the Fan and clear the board, but again, it could steal the Drake, which is a big problem.
So I think it's just going to Fan into SI.
Oh, and he gets the Blade Flurry.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, there you go. There's the Blade Flurry. So that's pretty okay, just giving him that.
And then he cleans up the minion that's stolen with the SI and regains board.
Yeah, I'd say it worked out pretty well, actually. Not too bad at all. And what's the follow-up here from... I mean, until we see what we can go... I think Double Shade's just going to be too slow now to actually have any sort of impact. I mean, the Drake's okay, and he is going to just play that just to see what he can get. Oh, and it's a Wild Growth.
Maybe it's like hoping for a Wrath there just to clean the board up again. But I think Faramir's in a really good position here. He's got a lot of stuff in his hand. The Sprint is definitely going to help Firebat in this position. But I don't think you want to use it yet. You just still want to contest the board.
Yeah, I mean, on the other hand, though, I mean, at 29 health, you'd like to think you're fairly safe, even with that board there. So, I mean, it looks okay. And he's just going to push for damage, I guess, and just see what he can do with the following turn. Now, what do you do with the Druid as well? I mean, the Piloted Shredder, the Wild Growth's not going to do too much. Again, like we said, big game's dead. It's unless he draws something really good, I think he could have some problems.
And he's got that Sprint just to recharge himself next turn, and he'll have 9 mana, so he'll maybe have a follow-up. So maybe drawing to like a prep will help him out. And I think that's really good from Firebat, just being more aggressive here, putting on the damage. So if he does draw that that Tinkers, he has a lot of damage readily available from next turn, and he can just maybe take the win, because he's got the Blade Flurry.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Druid's got to focus on just clearing the board now. You can't leave minions on the board against this rogue, because, like you said, the threat of Tinkers or anything, the burst is just going to be there, even only with a couple of cards, 3 cards in hand. And he's done quite well to just clear there and build up the board for the following turn.
So you can Drake, you can backstab the Piloted Shredder, but it does bring another minion. Oh, he gets the Tinkers as well.
Still not too great with what the Tinkers into face Blade Flurry, I guess, is going to be the play after the backstab on the Shredder, of course. So, you know, he can really push that pressure, but it's just if he can... I mean, do you then just rely on the Sprint to draw something to just finish off the game?
So he goes to the... So he gets the spell power from the Azure Drake, so if he does decide to Blade Flurry, he might be able to clean up both the Azure Drake and what it drops. So it does drop the 3/2, which the Blade Flurry will clear up. So So again, he re-establishes his board, he gets the dagger up, and he gets to set up that Tinkers for next turn.
So what's the Druid going to draw? Keep of the Grove. It doesn't really do too much.
He does clear the Drake with both the keepers, but he's in a position now where he can fish for cards with the Wild Growth and see if he can draw some more options. Maybe perhaps a taunt. A taunt would really help him out, say like a Belcher, because we've already seen the Blade Flurry, we've seen a Sap.
Oh, we see a Mind Control tech. It's not actually going to do too much at all, and I think it's the worry now. He can clear and get the shades ready, but I just think the health difference is just too much now, especially, okay, double sprint.
Double sprint.
I was going to say, especially with Ice Sprint in hand, but yeah, I just think the follow-up turn's going to be too big, although it's not too much in it. The Tinker's Oil is there, but the Fan of Knives isn't going to do too much. The Thanos will help it potentially clear, but it's going to be short by the time the shade grows anyway, so...
I mean, you might want to clear out the shade now. You may not get a good opportunity to use the Fan of Knives again, because obviously a lot of the Druid minions have quite a bit of health, and that, as you said, that shade will grow. But he still has the Tinkers, he still has Faramir on 9 health, and if he draws the South Sea Deckhand, it could be pretty bad for Faramir.
Yeah, and I don't, at this point, I think I would just put the Blood Mage out and prep into Fan of Knives. It draws you another card, so like you said, maybe that, the charge minion there to push, or it's even to just draw. I mean, we've not seen any Eviscerates, have we yet?
We haven't, no. So he still has a lot of burst in his deck, but is he going? I think he's just pushing for the damage still, which is fine too, because he does have that Tinkers, and he just needs to draw, say, that South Sea to close it out.
Yeah, and it's just forcing the Druid to react to him and have to keep clearing the board. And again, he's just sitting quite happy on 29 health. There's no real threat there. And the Druid's not, he's got 4 cards in hand, but it's not overwhelming. It's not really like having a full hand. You think he could pull out anything, maybe a combo after combo. But just going to see the Dr. Boom get played, which is pretty okay. Clears board again, like we said he had to. And just hero powers to gain the armor. He's pretty confident the finisher is there.
You might have to fish for it with the prep sprint, because even if he draws the South Sea Deckhand now, he'll have enough mana to play both Tinkers and the South Sea Deckhand.
I mean, with this many draws, you just imagine.
Oh, double Eviscerate. Yeah, that's all he needs.
I was going to say, especially with double Evis left in deck. I mean, he's got 5 cards left after that after that sprint. So. Yeah, the odds on that pulling out the damage was pretty high.
So Firebat takes the first game in convincing style. A very aggressive play for a minute, and it paid off for him. Yeah,
so Firebat's going to lose the Rogue now. And what's he got left? So he's got Hunter and Freeze Mage. And this is, I mean, it's going to be really difficult, because he knows, like you said, he plays Warrior. Is he going to risk just rolling the Freeze Mage, or is he going to try and get that finisher against the Warrior to just... to try and get the Warrior out of the way? I just don't know if it's too much of a risk to just go into the Freeze Mage and potentially auto-lose.
Yeah, the Firebat's in a good position now because he's got rid of his Rogue deck. It's been taken out of the game, and the Warrior matchup can be really difficult for the Rogue, so he's eliminated one of the issues there. So the Freeze Mage is obviously the next issue he has to deal with. So potentially picking the Freeze Mage can be good. So it all comes down to Faramir predicting what he's going to pick.
Yeah, definitely. And and we're about to find out what that is.
Because if he picks the Warrior and Firebat picks the Mage, he beats that good matchup and he gets a Warrior off the board, which would be good for him. But he's gone back for the Druid, and Firebat's gone for the Face Hunter.
With a lot of weapons in his opening hand. I mean, double Glaivezuka, Eaglehorn. I mean, is he going to keep one Glaivezuka, do you think, and just keep hold of that one little burst, or is he just going to throw all of them? Oh, he's keeping the Eaglehorn, okay.
And he threw away the Scientist as well, because obviously they synergize together with the traps. I would have expected a keeper of the Scientist personally. So he gets the Wild Growth. Faramir's hand's pretty decent. The keeper's always really good in this match, because obviously just kills something, and a lot of the Face Hunter's minions are very low health, 2 health, 1 health. Yeah,
and also it can trade, 9 times out of 10 it trades like 2 for 1 quite easily.
Exactly.
So it's going to work really well. I mean, it's a bit frustrating that. Oh wow, so there's Explosive Trap and Snake Trap in hand, as well as 2 weapons and Unleash. Not really the start you want as Face Hunter.
So he pushes for the damage with Glaivezuka here. I guess he just wants to get rid of this Glaivezuka now. It's a bit awkward if you have the Eaglehorn bow as well, and damage does. So yeah, that comes down. Maybe if he knew he was if he didn't know he was playing face, he was playing mid, he might have silenced that because he doesn't want to lose the tempo to the freezing trap. But because he knows it's a face hunter, it's fine just to kill it, because your keeper will still be able to trade with something and take the flame trap.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, he's just getting rid of that Glaive Zuka there, and be interested to see if he actually. He's got a bit of a rough turn. I mean, like you say, you can see the keeper just going for face, pushing on the damage, and the pallet shredder comes out, which is really good actually. It's going to stick to the board with the zombie chow as well. I mean, this is looking really rough for the hunter.
Yeah, Faramir can pretty much clean up most of the hunter's options with this board, and as we know from Firebat, his hand's not looking particularly great. Yeah, and he gets the tracking though.
Yeah, even with tracking though, I mean, he can tracking, pull, you know, Wolf Rider. What's that going to do to the board? You know, there's really not a lot he can pull out. Be interested to see what he picks. So there's Haunted Creeper, Mad Scientist, and Leper Gnome. I don't really know what I would go for. I mean, I suppose the Haunted Creeper at least sticks around a little bit more. The Leper Gnome's pushes a bit heavier on the damage, which is what he's gone for, but it's really not great.
I think Firebat's course of action now is just to kill him as fast as possible. He has to just kill him. I don't think he even needs to deal with the board. He just needs to kill him before Savage Roar combo comes out and he gets killed. So it's just the race is on now.
Yeah, definitely, and because, I mean, Faramir is probably almost certainly aware that he is playing a snake trap. If he chooses to actually play that, he'll probably just play around it and just push for damage anyway, because he won't want to give him more minions, so he probably wouldn't try and clear. The Eagle Horn Longbow and Explosive Trap's going to be okay. It's going to be really tough. I mean, Unleash is looking okay with 3 minions on board, but again, it's not enough to actually affect it.
So the Explosive Trap wouldn't clear the shade here, because it's going to grow. So, but it does push that damage, which is what Firebat is looking for, and it also gives him a charge on the bow, so it just increases his damage output. I think Firebat's actually looking alright now, because obviously because the Explosive Trap doesn't clear the board, Unleash the Hounds become stronger.
Yeah, and I think what the Explosive Trap does in terms of at least the zombie chow maybe is that he can unleash next turn and just put one of those tokens into the chow to then just boost his health back up without losing too much aggression.
It's Faramir's counting here. We just saw a hover over that Savage Roar. I mean, he does have the Ancient of Law now, so he has the option to heal. He does have a taunt, so Faramir has a lot of cards in his hand where he can sustain.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably... He could even heal. He could just use the Ancient of Law to just heal up, and he's almost certainly going to attack. I think he has to. He's not really at the point where he can just choose, because he's going to expect Explosive Trap. Don't know if he's going to, at the point where he can just say, no, I'm not going to attack, I'm just going to wait to sort of build up and secure it a bit more. I think he's oh, but he is. I mean, proves me wrong.
Well, not attacking here, he doesn't take the extra 2 damage, and because none of these minions actually die to Explosive Trap, he can actually just set up a lethal with Savage Roar or the combo. Well, the combo will die, the minions from the combo will die, but you'll still have a lot of damage from the Savage Roar, so that's probably what he's thinking about, just develop the board a lot here. He does have the Druid's Claw, it can go in charge, he can Savage Roar, so he has a lot of damage potential next turn.
Yep, and what is Firebat going to do?
I imagine he'd just go face here, maybe?
I don't know, at that health you've got to be starting to get a bit worried about the board that, like you said, won't die to Explosive Trap.
I mean, clearing up the zombie chow here gives him some health, so it gives him some sustain. And he's not so vulnerable to swipe then.
I think he almost has to. It's just at this point in the game, it's just too dangerous to leave that amount of minions at that sort of damage up on the board when you could just put 3 tokens into the chow, or is he just going to put 1 and wait for the Explosive Trap?
Yeah, just kind of weaken the minions so they get triggered by the Explosive Trap.
What has he got? Is Wrath going to do too much?
So he's probably counting how much the Druid of the Claw and the Savage Roar does now.
Yeah.
But he needs to take into consideration that the zombie chow will heal.
I think that is lethal, isn't it? Oh yeah, with the zombie chow as well. I'm never good at quick maths. So he's going to have 5/9. He will have 13 plus the Savage Roar. Like you said, the zombie chow is really going to make it difficult. It's going to be a tough one. He's really having to do the maths on this one. And it's really
smart. It's a really smart play from Firebat, because he's taking in consideration that Faramir could have the damage to kill him. with, say, the Druid's Claw, for example, and he set it up so that he can get healed at least and maybe save himself. So that takes him straight back up to 26. And 2 damage goes to Faramir. So Firebat is just chipping away, and he still has 3 cards in his hand, so he's not exactly in a situation where Face Hunter can just run out of steam. And even to this point, Firebat hasn't been, say, rinsing that hero power like some Face Hunters do, where they just like to use the hero power so they keep drawing more cards, so they just have more options.
Yeah, definitely, and something has to be aware of is that is this going to be... Okay, he is going to play...
He's just going to go for it here.
Okay, because I was just going to say the Hunter could have double Arcane Golem in hand, potentially, which is just going to ruin his day, so... Going to see what this is actually... Is this lethal? We just can't count.
Yes, it is lethal.
Yep, there we go. So, yeah. A bit of a strange one. It's not how I expected that game to go at all with the sort of quite intricate plays. Normally think of Face Hunter, it's like it's quite simple. I'll just hero power every turn, play all the charge minions and go for it.
I think that can be a general misconception sometimes, because aggro can be one of the hardest decks to pilot sometimes. You've got to take into consideration a lot of things, like how many cards you're going to have when you draw them, because they don't usually have a strong draw mechanic in the deck, and so you have to take how much damage you can deal, how much damage you have left in your deck, for example. So there's a lot of things to consider when playing these kind of heavy aggro decks against classes like Druid, which can heal and taunt up.
Yeah, definitely, and it's like every single choice is actually really important. When do you trade? What can you manage, like you said? So it really does come down to those little things that just take the game over. So we're going to see that the Druid is now gone. So what do you think he's going to pick into? What do you think Firebat's going to pick next?
So he has the Freeze Mage and he has the Hunter again, and Faramir has the Warrior and the Rogue. So Face Hunter can do very well against the Oil Rogue, but Face Hunter is just one of those decks, unfortunately, that is prone to bad draws and bad hands. And looking at Firebat's hand last game, he did have the 2 traps in hand. You don't want to see them in your hand at all. You want your scientists to bring them out for free. And we have the Warrior as well, so I guess we've got picks here. Like with the Warrior, I think the Warrior is pretty safe. Yeah, but do you want Warrior to beat the Freeze Mage?
Yeah, that's the worry, isn't it? I think picking the Rogue's probably going to be the better idea, just to sort of just go for it and see what gets played, and then you can even if it depending on what Firebat wins with, if he wins, then he has that reaction.
This is interesting with this format, because losing with the Rogue isn't a bad thing, because you have the Warrior to deal with the 2 good matchups after. But if you pick the Warrior first and you win with the Warrior's gone then. And you want that Warrior to be able to deal with the 2 good matchups. So yeah, it's one of the strange things in the format.
Yeah, definitely. And I think because the format's so new, everyone's still figuring it out. We're seeing all sorts of different strategies come into play. Do you just pick 3 good overall decks, or do you really try and narrow it down into sort of counter decks, or at least coin flip decks like Freeze Mage loses extremely hard versus Warrior, but they can win just as hard versus a lot of other things. So really interesting to see what the players bring out.
So we do see the Warrior from Faramir here. This is the Face Hunter. So this could potentially be a very good match for Faramir, based on he wants that Fiery War Axe. I mean, and even getting the Cruel Task. 2 Cruel Taskmasters. Again, one of them. Oh, that's a very good hand actually.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, is that Armor Smith? I can't actually see what that is. Armor Smith, Cruel Taskmaster, Acolyte. I mean, it's a really good start, and Firebat's still got, Firebat's got a good start in himself actually, so it's going to be really interesting to see how this is dealt with, but I think I've got to give the edge to the Warrior.
He's got a strong curve, he's got 7 to play every turn, but because they're 1 health, he's got 2 1-health minions, these Cruel Taskmasters are going to do work, these Armor Smiths are going to be able to trade really well and start giving them some more life back. It's just, that's such an excellent hand for Faramir right now.
Yeah, definitely. He's just going to... the Mad Scientist comes down, but then the Warrior can just trade into it again. So, it's really good value from there with the Armor Smith as well to just claw back a little of that health. You see Sludge Belcher and Dr. Boom as well. I mean, Dr. Boom's probably not a great draw at this point, but everything else he's got is fairly safe. I just think a Fiery War Axe maybe would really propel him forward.
So it gives him that extra mana. And he trades it. He can't let that armor smith start building up armor, or he's just never going to win. He's just never going to have enough damage to deal with this warrior.
Yeah, definitely. And even putting it to 1 health, you've just seen a Cruel Taskmaster. You know, the warrior's not equipped a weapon yet, so you just sort of play around that risk where you get rid of the armor smith. And if it survives next turn, fantastic. You can really push for damage. But it's really interesting with Baron Geddon in the warrior, which is something you don't see too often, but it's really going to help versus matchups like this.
So he just pushes the face here. Not too worried about the Acolyte here. It'll draw 1 card if it decides to pop the explosive trap, but that you don't want to do that. You need to start clearing the board, so he just gets the 1 card. And he gets the Fiery War Axe.
That's a really good draw. I mean, his draw before that into Grom, I mean, again, he's not too interested in that at the moment. But the Fiery War Axe is pretty big. He knows, you know, after playing this Belcher, he can start to just clear the minions quite easily. There's not a lot that the Face Hunter is going to play that's going to be a problem.
So we see the kill command here, but the only beast he's got is from Unleash the Hound, so he'll probably be wanting to draw a beast soon, because then he just has a lot of burst. I'm expecting Faramir here will probably want to see, say, a shield block or maybe a shield maiden. A shield maiden would be just excellent because it's on curve, it gives him health. But he gets another armor smith, that's not too bad either.
No, and again, like we said about the Fiery War Axe going to come out, just he's starting to get a little bit sort of scary health at 16, but as we said earlier about the Hunter has the ability to burn out of cards really quickly, and we've seen Unleash Kill Command is pretty okay, but with the Armor Smith down, it's just going to stack up as much damage as it's going to do almost.
I guess Faramir was happy he didn't see a snake trap then from that Knife Juggler, because that would have been an issue.
But with the Armor Smith down, I mean, you know, with if those juggles sort of spread out across the creature, it could have worked out okay, but like I say, he's not really got an answer to deal with it quite yet.
So he gains 1 armor from that. If he decides to pop the trap now, he gets more armor from the armor smith. And he's got another Belcher as well, so he's got a really good line of defense here.
Yeah, I think this is the point where the warrior just needs to just slow everything down. The Hunter's burning out pretty quick, only 2 to 3 cards on this turn, but with an armor smith, Belcher, weapon, and now he can almost just sit an armor up every single turn. So the Iron Beak coming out for the Belcher is going to be interesting.
So he gets that silence, and he gets the animal, which activates his kill command. But I wouldn't be surprised if from now on Faramir is just going to keep hitting that armor button.
Yeah, I think he's at the point now. I mean, even if the Iron Beak Owl's going to come down into that kill command, but it's still not terrible. He can clear the Iron Beak, and now the Hunter's just got Unleash. I mean, it's not going to do too much at the moment. And like you said, if he just keeps hitting hero power, he should be pretty safe. And he's choosing that, especially with the Sylvanas draw. But he's choosing, I mean, I think even if he hadn't drawn that, he would have still hero powered as opposed to playing Dr. Boom and sort of just skipping that 1 turn of 2 armor.
So he keeps the armor smith around. This makes a better than Unleash turn for Firebat, but drawing explosive traps just not great. And he just passes. Hero power and pass on turn 8 for Face Hunters, never brilliant. He wants them to be dead by now.
Yep,
and Alex as well.
Yeah, I mean, he surely just drops it. I think he's probably confident. Oh, okay, so he's going to drop it on himself to make him even safer. That's fine. I was going to be surprised if because he's got Grom in hand, is he going to just drop the Alex Strauss? And we just see a quick concede. Yeah, I mean, there's no way back from that.
With that hand, he had no chance, and as longer the game goes for the warrior, the better it is for him, because he could just start healing with Alex, shield maidens, etc. So, but that's the warrior gone now. There's a freeze mage coming now, and the warrior's gone, so he's going to have to be able to fight that freeze mage with his rogue.
Yeah, and I think it's going to rely on the rogue being able. It's going to be really difficult to pop the blocks if they come quick enough, and then still have enough damage to finish off, or pop them early enough. It's going to be I think it's going to be a bit of an uphill climb, to be honest.
Yeah, and he still has the Face Hunter to deal with, and if the Face Hunter draws well, which Firebat hasn't drawn that brilliantly with it yet. This could be the game where he draws well and he just kills him so fast.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we saw that game. They were not the best draws you want to get with Face Hunter, especially versus Warrior. But yeah, this is, again, like we're just quick touching on the format again. It's really strange that you can be 2-1 up and be pretty... normally that's good, but then you think, oh god, actually I've sort of pinned myself in a corner potentially, just based on deck choices.
So the next game's coming up now. So yeah, he just picks the Freeze Mage. I guess if the Freeze Mage loses, he still has that good chance of winning with the Face Hunter. But if he just wins with the Freeze Mage now, it's
yeah,
fine.
I think he's probably just picked it just to try and get... I mean, he's got to win with this he's got to win with both decks against against Rogue anyway, so I suppose maybe he doesn't really mind. He just picked whatever he felt like. So you're going to see the Lotheb's actually pretty big to have in hand, ready for whenever you feel the need to maybe push for some damage and reduce the control on the board from the mage.
Or reduce, if he plays Alex on 9, he's got the burst ready. He played a Lotheb and it's like, oh, I'm kind of stuck here a little bit.
Yeah, you just basically gain a turn. I think the Freeze Mage's got an okay-ish start. I mean, the Loot Hoarder and the Acolyte's pretty good. The Frostbot's there to deal with maybe an SI early on. Just going to see him attack faces. Do you think he's going to just drop the SI? Yeah, it's just wants
develop a board.
Yeah. I mean, otherwise it would have just been dagger up, pass, and then nothing, unless he wanted to play the Fan of Knives, because again, versus Freeze Mage, there's not much there to actually clear.
Yeah, SI doesn't really do a lot. It's going to kill. It's not even going to kill an Acolyte, for example. It'll kill a Loot Hoarder, kill a Blood Mage, but not much else.
Yep.
And he gets the Deadly Poison there, so he has a Blade Flurry as well. He's got a sprint. He's got a lot of ways to charge up his hand as well, and just using the Fan of Knives here to draw more cards, because he just wants to draw that burst as fast as possible.
Yep. And prep sprint as well now in hand. That's going to be really good to just again get the answers ready for when he really needs to pull them out, because I think timing's everything in this matchup for the Rogue. Just going to see the Blood Mage come down.
Building a bit of a board, trying to draw more cards here.
Yeah, and he just may as well. A lot of his cards at the moment, they're not really with Alexstrasza, the Blizzard with on the 1 minion on the board. It's not going to do too much, so he just values the card draw over the spell power there.
Oh, and a Doomsayer comes out, and we see the Frost Nova as well, so he just has that as a potential play.
Yeah, I think he might actually do it, or I mean, he could coin out the Blizzard and just run the Scientist into the 4/4 just to clear the board if he wanted to save the Doomsayer.
Yeah, I think that's really good, because he gets the trap down then, and it could be, say, an Ice Block, an Ice Barrier, so it just draws out the game longer, which is what Firebat wants right now. So what does he get?
The trap is Ice Block. I think that's actually pretty good, especially because he's going to try and plan on killing these minions, so that they're not going to proc it if it was Ice Barrier this turn. So the Ice Block's just safe. It's there now. You don't need to worry about potentially drawing into it.
I guess this is a good prep sprint turn, because you're not really going to want to play any minions, and you get the dagger up as well if you want to.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, has he got a way to actually clear? No, he's not got a way to clear the Doomsayer, like I say. So the prep sprint, it's actually pretty okay for him. I think he's okay with that. He's going to get Blood Mage, another sprint, a Sharp, so I think that's okay. And a Teacher as well.
So do you make a dagger now just to set it up for next turn? Because you've obviously got that. Yeah, you've got the Deadly Poison, you've got the Tinkers, so you just want to get that dagger ready for when you create that big burst with those spells.
Yeah, definitely. And we see another Blizzard coming out. I mean, that's not really what he's looking for when there's nothing on board to deal with it. He has got Archmage ready, but again, a bit too early for anything. He's got a lot of the finishing pieces. And what did he actually just burn?
Dr. Boom.
Oh wow,
which is interesting. You don't see it in Oil Rogue that often.
On turn 7 as well. So yeah, that's really not too great at all. So the Vata Teacher's going to come out with Deadly Poison. What else? I mean,
and the Falnos as well.
Yeah, and now we're going to probably see the value from the Blizzard, I think. Oh, and Explosive Sheep as well. Maybe he's going to just go for that instead. I'm not really sure what's the best move here.
He's got back-to-back Blizzards, so even if he Blizzards now, and then he starts making more tokens with the Violet Teacher, he can just Blizzard them all again, and then he'll have enough to ping it with the Hero Power as well, so he can just clear the board again next turn, if that's what happens. But we do see the Lotheb in Faramir's hand, so he could potentially stop all of that if he decides to go that route. Yeah,
definitely, and like you said, the Blizzard play is pretty okay, because it controls the Violet Teacher the following turn anyway. So it's pretty safe. I mean, there's not too much else that would be worthwhile, I don't think.
Yeah, just goes for the Blizzard.
Yeah.
So this could potentially be a very good turn for Faramir here. You can set you can set up a Lotheb, you can set up a Farseer if he wants to. Build the board, it can't be removed, and then you can set up for a big Tinkers.
Yeah, and we actually see the Earthring Farseer in the Rogue's hand now as well. So good to have the healing ready for the inevitable Alexstrasza coming down, so he can just wait. That won't come out until after the Alexstrasza's played. What has he got? I think he's just going to follow with a Lothar, like you said, just protect the Violet Teacher.
He's actually got 2 Farseers as well. Some people have dropped down to 1 that add an Edwin, or maybe Goblin Auto Barber, you know, some more techie cards. So we just have a lot of healing for this matchup, which will only play in its advantage when that Alexstrasza does come down.
Yeah, and we see the 8 mana Frost Nova pass. I mean, not the best turn in the world, I don't think, but it's still okay. You know, he's still stalling out the game a little bit and sort of keeping control of the opponent's board. He's just trying to prep as well, so there's not a lot he can do though. He can't. I think he's got too many cards to actually prep sprint maybe, and I mean, we're just going to see. Ah, attack blade play. Okay, so he's just going to push the mage down, just try and get a bit more of a dangerous position, especially with the sharp sword oil that he's got in hand to really push for that damage and try and proc the ice block as soon as possible.
I mean, the Blade Flurry is just pushing damage, like you said. He's not really going to use it for clear or anything, because there's not a lot of minions within the Freeze Mage deck, and they're usually that low that you could just dagger them or deal with them with a backstab. So, is he just going to... I'm not sure what he's going to do now. Maybe sprint? So he develops an even bigger board now. And we see the Blizzard in hand, which will deal with most of it at least. How many cards does Faramir have left, actually?
I think he has 6 left in hand, so he's actually drawn through most of his deck, while there's still 14 on the side of Firebat. He's choosing to actually backstab to just clear the card so he doesn't overdraw next turn. This is actually a bit tricky now, so I think he almost has to Blizzard this turn. What other options has he got? He's got Blizzard into, Blizzard into Sheep.
Yeah, Sheep's, he could Sheep if he wants, but he can... He's got the coin as well, so he can take himself up to 10 manas. So he can Blizzard Sheep, ping the Sheep, and clear the board if he wants to.
Yeah, it would still actually leave the Lothar up at 1.
Yeah, that's true.
But it would be frozen.
Oh yeah,
so
so
you are pretty safe. And I think a play like that's actually is almost needed. The second you let a rogue keep multiple minions on the board for the following turn, you almost expect him burst, especially knowing how deep the rogue is through the deck.
But he could just Blizzard and ping the Lothar, and then he has the Sheep for next turn. That's another potential play there.
Yeah, and just to know as well, actually, I didn't see that the second ice block is actually already in the mage's hand, so that's something pretty okay to have. You know, again, you can just stall out a little bit longer, and he's got the coin, he's got Archmage and the Frostbolt as well, so you can actually play Archmage, Frostbolt, coin, Frostbolt. So that's a lot of fireballs. And with ice block already on and a second ice block in hand, that's actually pretty safe. I'm actually getting a bit worried for the rogue here.
But Faramir gets to develop his board even more here, and he gets that Shredder down, which is a very sticky minion. So it'll give him a minion back, even if it gets cleared, and that's all he needs to set up a strong Tinker's play.
Yeah, and I think he's just flagged that he's actually doing that next turn because he buffed the weapon and just didn't attack with it at all. So he's got 2 charged weapon there, and he just, you know, Firebat's got to be pretty certain that many cards deep in his deck, the sharp swords are there. But the Ice Spire is actually going to help quite a lot. I think that almost has to be played this turn just to try and make the ice block last a little bit longer.
Perhaps.
I mean, does he just go Alexstrasza because he's got the second ice block?
I mean, there's potential for Faramir to pop the ice block next turn, but he still has another ice block, and so he's not going to die. So he still has a few turns left to say from all this burst. This is a tough turn for him.
Yeah, it's going to be it's really tricky actually. There's not really a play I like too much.
And as like you said earlier, he has those 2 Farseers in hand, so as soon as Alex comes down, he just tops himself right back up. But we do see the Archmage, like you said, he's got the Archmage, he's got the Frostbolts, he still has the coin as well. So
he is just going to go for it, I think. Just as the rope's getting close to burning out, he is just going to Alexstrasza and follow it up with a Frostbolt, actually.
So where's this Frostbolt going? Straight to face, so...
Yeah. I think he's just decided to go for it. Yeah. So what have we got next turn? I mean, there's Frostbolt, Fireball, for 9. You've got to presume the Alexstrasza's getting killed this turn. So he might actually, with the 2 Farseers, he's just going to put himself out of reach again, isn't he?
I mean, he could potentially clear this Alexstrasza with his Blade Flurry as well if he decides to go down that route. But I'm assuming he's going to want to heal as well. And he does have that Eviscerate, so he does make it easier. And with the Shredder, he doesn't lose board because he just gains a minion back. So
unless it's Doomsayer.
Unless it's Doomsayer, yeah.
In which there's a major problem.
But he has a lot of ways he can deal with this. He still has a backstab as well, so it's not a major threat. It's just whether he wants to decide to heal back up if he's afraid of all that burst from Firebat's hand.
Yeah, I mean, he can quite easily just backstab Eviscerate to just clear, and then just push for the damage to try and set up that big turn next turn. But the problem is the longer he takes and the more time he takes doing this, is like it's just making that ice block's just lasting longer, and it's going to be really difficult to clear. Oh, so he is going to proc it this turn.
Does Blade Flurry does... Oh, hold up.
Yeah, he actually gets a lot done, to be fair.
Yeah, the SI cleans it up.
Yeah,
I didn't see the SI.
Yeah, that's a really good turn, actually. It was the best he could pull out there, and he just puffs himself back up to 15.
So he's going to force Firebat to ice block again now, because he's going to need it to survive. But yeah, Firebat's not looking in a good position here.
Yeah, it's a real worry as well, because if he, for example, because the Flame Strike's there, if he Flame Striked Ice Block, then it doesn't matter because you just know the Ice Block's going to be procced again the following turn. So he's actually just going to go to gain the Fireballs, and he does have 15, but he doesn't know the Farsi is in there, so I think that's pretty much game.
I think Faramir will just clear this Antonidas now, play the Farseer, pop the block, and just sit there and wait.
Yeah, I can't really see a way out for the Freeze Mage. And especially with double oil and the deck hand in hand, that's pretty straightforward. I think he might even just concede when he sees this Farseer.
He takes him down to 2 as well, just to take him to even less health for next turn. Oh, those Arcane Intellects are a bit late. He could have done with them a bit earlier.
Definitely. I mean, both players, I mean, the Freeze Mage's gone down to 10 cards and the Rogue down to 2, so I think that double sprint actually really helped, sort of in close turns to each other, so I've really just ploughed through the deck and gave him all the options he needed.
So the barrier will actually keep him alive for a little bit. It'll give him, he's on 10 health potentially, but all Faramir needs to draw is a Eviscerate or an SI and he just kills him. And there we go.
And there it is.
So he doesn't even need to pop the trap, and he takes it 3-1. So we didn't even need the warrior. So
no, yeah, it's a bit of a crazy one. We didn't get to see that insanely one-sided game.
So Faramir is the winner, and he will advance to tomorrow. Is he our first player to advance to tomorrow now?
I think so. I'm not sure of the results from the other stage yet. But,
that's true, yeah.
He definitely is one of the first few. So yeah, it's a crazy set. I think that's one of the problems. I mean, with the format, a deck like Freeze Mage, you can sort of get locked in a little bit. When you've got to try and come up, especially with the Warrior waiting as well, it's going to be a real problem to pull that win out. And that's where maybe taking sort of more, less one-sided decks and more sort of generalized decks is really going to help out.
Yeah, exactly. And we've got next game. What have we got next games? It's Sottle and Honora, 2 of the underdogs, I would say, probably from the groups. People you probably, because they had very good players in their groups anyway, and you had Tige, you had Powder, so we've got actually like an underdog game next, which is going to be really interesting, because Honora's games were quite exciting, like with the Rag hit to the Fatigue and the Fireball, so I think that's going to be a great game. Yeah,
definitely. It's good to see some of the lesser known players. It's a really interesting me. On one side, we've got players like Firebat, you know, the world champion, and then on the other side, we have sort of players don't really hear too much about, but they, you know, they've done really well. They've either qualified through some pretty hard tournaments. I mean, get a lot of big names in these qualifiers. So
yeah, the Gfinity qualifiers had about 256 players each qualifier, so there are a lot of big names really fighting to get these spots, because this is pretty much the biggest invitational in the UK we've ever had. Maybe in esports, I don't know, but definitely in Hearthstone. So it's great. It's such a growth for our scene here, which both of us have been trying to build up through our organization. So like, I'm really happy that this is going forward.
Yeah, definitely. It's just something that's not really had before. So getting the arena and everything, it's a really great venue, and just having the ability to host something like this is actually fantastic.
And the quality of the place, like the stage, the production, it's just excellent, and it's a step in the right direction for the UK as far as esports is concerned. You know, and I heavily support this, and I'm really happy to be involved in this.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm not really sure. I'm just I've actually just trying to think of another way that set could have been played to make it a bit more. I mean, maybe starting with the freeze mage. Maybe I'm really caught up on whether these. I'm not sure whether I agree with the whole taking as such a coin flip deck.
Yeah, it's difficult, and having that warrior there was always going to be a threat. As soon as you take freeze mage face hunter and you come up against a warrior, straight away the odds are against you, because that warrior deck is most of the time going to get a win on the table for you. So it's almost like going into the set 1-0 up to an extent, and that might be quite an exaggeration, because obviously anything can happen in this game, but it just increases your odds of winning that set so much by having that warrior and having those matchups.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, I mean, a great set, a couple of crazy games, and I think we're just going to go over to a break now while we prepare for the next set.
So yeah, we're at the Gfinity Masters right now. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with the next game as soon as possible, so stay tuned, guys.